I never thought being embarrassed could feel so fancy, surrounded by silk dresses and glasses of champagne. I was in the third row at my little sister's wedding, wearing the only nice dress I owned. I tried not to stand out among all the perfect-looking people. My son, Luca, sat beside me. His little legs swung under the table. He wore a tiny suit I paid for by saving up for 2 paychecks. He was proud to be there. He thought maybe this day would help us feel part of the family again. Maybe I hoped that too. Vivian, my sister, looked like a movie star. She always had that glow, pretty, charming, loved by everyone, especially our mom. She got compliments. I got compared. She was the center of attention. I learned to stay quiet in the background. Still, I came. I smiled. I clapped when she kissed her new husband. I kept my voice calm when people said, "You're the older sister? You don't look like you have an 8-year-old." Then came the speeches. The groom's friend went first. His jokes were okay, and people laughed a little. Then Vivian stood up. I thought she'd say something sweet, maybe about love or our childhood. I even raised my glass, expecting something nice. I was wrong. She lifted her champagne glass and smiled. "Thanks to everyone for being here," she said. "It means so much. And I want to say something about my big sister." I looked at Luca and smiled. He smiled back, excited. For a moment, I thought she might say something kind. Vivian kept going. "Lara's been such a role model. She's a single mom, strong, independent, and clearly not wanted by anyone else." The room burst into laughter. My stomach sank. I thought I heard wrong. But no, she kept smiling like she just told the best joke. Some people looked unsure, but most laughed louder, clinking their glasses like it was normal. I didn't know where to look. My heart pounded. Luca tugged my sleeve. "Why did she say that about you, Mama?" he whispered. Before I could answer, my mother called out from her table, "She's used goods, but hey, still looks decent for her age." More laughter. Meaner this time. It was the kind of laughter that cuts deep. The kind that tells you don't belong. You're not a guest. You're not family. You're a joke. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. My face felt hot, but I wouldn't cry. Not in front of Luca. Not in front of them. Under the table, I clenched my napkin tight in my hand. I looked around, hoping someone, anyone, might give me a kind look. My grandfather stared at his plate. My cousin was on her phone. Even my uncle, who once said I reminded him of my dad, didn't look up. Luca looked confused and hurt. That was the hardest part. Not the joke. Not the shame. But seeing my son try to understand why his mom, the one who kisses his scrapes and helps with homework, was being laughed at by her own family. I wanted to leave. Grab Luca's hand and never come back. But I couldn't move. I wanted to speak up, to tell them they didn't know what I'd been through, what I had survived. But I sat there. My mouth was dry. My legs shook. Then a chair scraped back. Callum, the groom, Vivian's perfect new husband, stood up slowly. He didn't laugh. He didn't look at Vivian. He didn't look at the crowd. He looked straight at me. And everything went still. I didn't know what would happen next, but it wasn't going to be a rescue or a fight. It felt like something bigger. A truth coming out. People think older siblings lead the way. That they're looked up to. But in my family, I wasn't someone to admire. I was a warning. I'm Lara. I'm 34. A single mom. The family disappointment. I live in a small apartment with my son, Luca. He's 8. He's my whole world. The reason I keep walking back into rooms that try to break me. I work 2 jobs, one at a cafe in the morning, one at a hotel front desk at night. Life isn't fancy, but it's mine. I make Luca pancakes on Saturdays. I patch his jeans. He tells me I'm his superhero. That's what keeps me going. But to my family, being a single mom meant I failed. My mother, Judith, made sure I felt that way at every dinner. She cares about how we look and what people think. To her, Vivian's wedding was a way to fix the family image. Vivian is 5 years younger than me. Beautiful, successful, she always got what she wanted and made it look easy. She's the favorite. Judith spoils her. If Vivian sneezed, Mom gave her a silk tissue. If I got sick, she told me to toughen up. When I got pregnant with Luca, everything changed. I was 25, in love, and thought the man I was with would stay. By month 5, he was gone. No note. No call. My family didn't ask questions. They didn't help. Just silence, judgment, and "I told you so." But then Luca came. And holding him made all their cruel words fade. Still, deep down, I hoped one day they'd finally see me. I didn't just want to be seen as a single mom. I wanted to be seen as someone who deserved love. Maybe that's why I said yes to Vivian's wedding invitation. Even though I wasn't in the bridal party. Even though they spelled my name wrong on the RSVP card. Even though I had to rent a dress and do my hair in the bathroom mirror while Luca practiced smiling in his little tie. I told myself I was going for closure. Maybe, just maybe, this was my family's quiet way of reaching out. The wedding was beautiful. There were white roses, gold plates, and soft music. Vivian looked like she stepped out of a magazine, smiling, glowing, soaking in all the attention. When she walked by me, her smile faded. "You made it," she said, like she was surprised I showed up. She looked at Luca. "He's getting big." No hug. No warmth. Just quick words. Then she walked away. My mom, Judith, didn't say anything to me at all. She walked past me like I wasn't even there. But Luca was happy. He said the chandelier looked like a spaceship. He said Vivian looked like a princess. Seeing him smile made me stay for the reception, even though that old feeling came back, the one where I knew I didn't belong. Our table, table 9, was near the bathrooms. I laughed to myself. Of course it was. We ate our salads. I wiped dessert off Luca's tie. I avoided my mom's eyes and tried not to hear people whispering my name. Then the speeches began. Right away, I could tell this wouldn't be a loving family moment. It was going to be Vivian's big moment. And I was going to be the punchline. Her speech started like most wedding speeches, sweet and practiced. She stood with her champagne glass, her dress glowing under the lights. The room went quiet. "I want to thank everyone for being here," she said. "This is the happiest day of my life, and I'm surrounded by the people who mean everything to me." I sat in the back, trying to believe I was one of those people. Luca sat beside me, caught up in the magic of it all. Vivian talked about her new husband, Callum, about love and timing and fate. I started to relax. Maybe she wouldn't say anything cruel. Then she turned and said, "And of course, a shout out to my big sister. She's always been such a strong example." People looked at me. I sat up a little. I smiled. She kept going, her voice sweet but sharp. "She's the bravest woman I know. She raised a child alone. No husband, no partner, just her, and whoever was kind enough to babysit." Some people laughed softly. My stomach turned. Then she added, "It's really amazing, a single mom, unwanted by anyone, but still showing up." Laughter. Loud and real. I couldn't breathe. My face got hot. My hands froze on my napkin. I looked at Luca. He wasn't smiling anymore. His face was confused. His eyes moved around the room, trying to understand why people were laughing at me. Then it got worse. Judith, our mother, laughed the loudest. She leaned in toward her table and said just loud enough for people to hear, "She's a used product, but still polishes up okay." More laughter. Not awkward, not nervous. Mean. It felt like a slap, even though no one touched me. They laughed like it was normal to make fun of a woman who had worked 2 jobs just to take care of her son with love and pride. Like being alone made me less than. I looked at Luca. The joy in his eyes was gone. He leaned close and whispered, "Why did she say that? What does it mean?" I didn't know what to tell him. I couldn't protect him from what he just saw. I couldn't pretend our family treated me with kindness. My chest hurt. I looked around, hoping someone would say something. No one did. People looked away. They stared at their plates, their phones, their drinks. Even Grandpa Norman, who used to call me his little lion, wouldn't meet my eyes. I was completely alone. If it had only been me, I could have handled it. I've learned how to swallow that kind of pain. I could have taken Luca's hand and walked out with my head high. But seeing the confusion in his face, watching him try to understand why his mother was being laughed at, that broke something in me. I stood up. Not to make a speech. Not to cause a scene. I just needed to get out. To breathe. To stop drowning in their shame. My hand shook as I pushed back my chair. Then I heard another chair move. Callum, the groom, stood up at the head table. His face was pale, his jaw was tight. He took the microphone from Vivian without asking. The room went quiet. No more laughing. No whispering. Just silence. Callum stood there, one hand on the table, the mic in the other. He looked right at me. Not at Vivian. Not at Judith. Just at me. For a second, I thought he was going to crack a joke, try to smooth things over. That's what my family always does, pretend nothing happened, call it humor, call it tradition. But that's not what he did. He didn't smile. He didn't laugh. His face showed something else, not just anger. Disappointment, like he couldn't believe what he'd just seen. Before he could speak, I reached for Luca's hand. And I got ready to leave. I was ready to leave quietly, with my head held high. I didn't want to cry or show how much it hurt. I had done that before. I could do it again. But just as I started to walk away, I heard Callum's voice. Era, don't go. Everyone turned toward him. People whispered, soft and dry like leaves blowing in the wind. Vivian looked tense. Judith's eyes narrowed. The DJ reached for the music, but stopped when Callum raised his hand. He looked straight at me. I can't act like what just happened was okay, he said. I won't stand here and let people call that kind of cruelty a joke. The room went quiet. Callum stepped away from the head table and slowly walked toward me and Luca. Every step felt serious, like he was walking through thick silence. He stopped near our table and looked around the room. While planning this wedding, I heard a lot about family, about traditions, about keeping up appearances, but what I just saw wasn't love or loyalty, it was bullying, disguised as celebration. People shifted in their seats, some glanced at Judith, others looked down into their drinks, no one spoke. Then Callum looked at Vivian. You made fun of your sister for being a single mom, you laughed about it, and you did it in front of her child. Vivian opened her mouth like she might say something, but stayed silent. Callum didn't wait. She didn't cause a scene, she came here quietly, she smiled, she brought her son to support you, and you turned her into a punchline. Vivian looked smaller than I'd ever seen her. Callum turned back to the guests. Era didn't get up here to defend herself, she didn't ask for pity, but I won't stay silent. If this is what it means to join this family, where shame is a joke and kindness is weakness, then I need to rethink who I want to be. Gasps filled the room. Someone whispered, is this really happening? A fork clattered to the floor. Luca looked up at me with wide, uncertain eyes. I didn't know what to do. I never expected anyone to stand up for me, not like this, not here. Callum looked down at Luca and gave him a small, kind nod. Your mom is the strongest person in this room, don't forget that. Then he looked around one last time. I've seen enough. He set the microphone down, walked past Vivian without a glance, and left the room. I stood frozen, still holding Luca's hand. No music played, no one moved. It felt like the air had been pulled out of the room. The perfect wedding had shattered, but for once, I wasn't the one who felt broken. As Callum walked out, the room stayed silent. No applause, no laughs, just the soft hum of the air conditioning and a spoon tapping a glass. People stared, at me, at Vivian, at the door Callum had just gone through. Vivian stayed frozen at the head table, her shoulders drooped. She looked around, but no one was smiling anymore. Some guests looked shocked, some looked ashamed, a few were angry, not at Callum, but at her. Judith was the first to speak. She stood up quickly, her chair screeching across the floor. What an ungrateful boy, she snapped. He embarrassed you, just like your sister, selfish. But her voice didn't have power anymore, her words didn't stick. I didn't reply, I didn't need to. For the first time, I didn't feel small next to her. Luca tugged gently on my hand. Are we leaving? He whispered. Yes, baby, I said, brushing his hair off his forehead. We're going home. I stood tall, held his hand, and walked toward the exit. People moved aside. Some wouldn't meet my eyes. A few looked like they wanted to speak but didn't. Halfway to the door, I heard my name. Era. I turned. It was Grandpa Norman. His face was pale, his eyes red. He stood slowly and walked toward me. I'm sorry, he said softly. His voice shook. I should have stopped this a long time ago. I nodded. I couldn't speak. I didn't blame him. I knew how hard silence can be, but I wasn't going to carry their guilt anymore. Outside, the air was cool. Luca squeezed my hand. Is the wedding over? I smiled at him. Yeah, I said. I think it ended just right. We drove home in silence. No music, just the sound of the tires on the road and Luca softly tapping his fingers. That night, I tucked him in, kissed his forehead, and stood at his door longer than usual. He didn't ask any more questions. He didn't have to. The next morning, I saw missed calls on my phone, dozens of them, from unknown numbers, cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, even wedding guests I barely knew. I ignored them. Then a text came from a friend who had been at the wedding. Someone recorded Callum's speech. It's on Facebook, over 50,000 views already. You should see the comments. People are standing up for you. I opened the video. There was Callum, calm and firm, speaking the truth in front of everyone, and there I was, standing still, holding Luca's hand. The comments were full of kindness. This man is a hero. She deserved better. I'm crying watching this. All single moms just got a little justice. I didn't cry. I didn't smile either. I just felt calm, like something tight inside me had finally let go. That week, Vivian tried to spin the story. She said Callum overreacted, that it was just a joke, that people were being too sensitive. But it didn't work. The truth was out there, and no one was laughing. A few days later, I got a small bunch of wildflowers at my door. No note, just a card that said, "To the Lioness." I knew exactly who sent them. The wedding didn't happen. But something more important did. For once, I wasn't the one who felt ashamed. I wasn't the one who had to say sorry. I walked out of that room with my son, my pride, and my head held high. And somewhere out there, someone showed a room full of people, and maybe the whole internet, what real strength looks like. It's been 6 months since the wedding that wasn't. Vivian and Callum ended things quietly, no big announcement, no drama, just silence, like the wedding had never been planned. Vivian went back to her life like nothing happened. She took down the pictures, she hasn't called, and honestly, I didn't expect her to. Judith called me once, not to apologize, but to say I embarrassed the family by not playing along. I let her talk for about 30 seconds, then I said something I never thought I'd be strong enough to say. I'm not your scapegoat anymore. Then I hung up. No yelling. No drama. Just peace. That's when I realized, I didn't need a big apology, I didn't need them to change, I didn't even need them to see my worth. What I needed, was to stop waiting for their permission to believe in myself. My life didn't magically change, I still work hard, I still make 2 dinners some nights, pancakes for Luca, something healthier for me. But I walk taller now, I don't hide, I don't carry shame that doesn't belong to me. Luca changed too, he asks smart questions now, about why people can be mean, about what it means to be brave. He talks about Callum like he's a superhero. Sometimes, he pretends his action figures make speeches, standing up for the little guy. And I know that night shaped him too. He's growing into someone strong, kind, and brave enough to speak up when it matters. One night, while we were brushing our teeth, he looked at me in the mirror and asked, "Mom, are you still sad about what Aunt Vivian said?" I thought about it and said, "Not anymore." "Why?" He shrugged, toothpaste on his chin. "Because I think you won, even if it wasn't a fight." That stuck with me. Because he was right. I didn't yell. I didn't insult anyone. I didn't cry or make a scene. I just stood up, took my son's hand, and walked away. And someone else, someone I didn't expect, chose to speak when silence wasn't enough. Callum didn't just stand up for me. He reminded everyone what love really looks like. Not the love with fancy dresses and big parties. The kind that sees someone getting hurt and says, "No, not today." If I learned anything, it's this. Being alone doesn't mean you're unwanted. Being kind doesn't mean you're weak. And once you take your dignity back, no one can take it from you again. So no, I didn't dance at my sister's wedding. I didn't toast, or catch a bouquet, or cry happy tears. But I left with something better than their approval. I left with my son by my side, my head held high. And the quiet truth that I don't need to explain myself to anyone. That was the ending no one expected, and the one I truly deserved. If this story meant something to you, if you've ever felt small, or quiet, in a room full of people who should have had your back, remember this. Your voice matters. Your dignity matters. And you are not alone. If this helped you feel seen, please like the video, share it with someone who needs it, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your story. Has someone ever stood up for you? Or did you have to stand up for yourself? For more real stories that remind us what it means to be human, hit subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss what's next. Thank you for being here.